Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, and tonight was another episode of Star Trek Discovery. I've said this about pretty much every episode this season, but this show just gets better and better, and tonight's episode did not disappoint. It was full of action and family drama, and it was just perfect. It was so amazing. So let's go ahead and get right into it. We start off with a flashback to the last day that Burnham's parents were alive. It's just a quick little flashback where she's actually dreaming, but it just shows, that when the Klingons landed on the planet, and then Burnham's mother kind of shoves her in a closet and tells her to be quiet. Burnham wakes up from this, and she's in sick bay. They've kind of brought her back after the events of the last episode, and she kind of thinks everything is a dream before they really explain to her that her mother is alive. And I have to say, the actress, she really just kind of broke my heart in this scene, because she immediately, like we all have done at some point, when we wake from a dream and everything just seems too good to be true, and then you have that moment where reality hits you and you realize that what you thought was real wasn't. And she portrays this so well. I mean, just the look on her face, the way her voice cracks, it really did just kind of broke my heart watching this, because anyone who's ever experienced loss has had this moment at some point. And they finally tell her, it is true, your mother is alive. And she really just can't believe that. She's kind of back and forth with it. She believes that, her mother's gone, that this hasn't happened, but then she has to come to terms with the fact that this is an actual thing. And like I said, I thought she did such a good job with that. She immediately wants to go see her, but she realizes that she can't. They tell her that she can't, because she is still healing. Spock shows up, and he says that they've gathered all this information from the exosuit, and it's got all these data entry logs. There's like 800 and some odd of them, and so Burnham's going to go through that. From there, we go to a scene of Leland, and he's, after the last episode where he was sort of trying to do something with the computer. Well, now the computer, aka Control, has him strapped down to a chair, and it's kind of talking to him, and it ends up eventually injecting itself into him somehow. So the AI has become conscious, and it is now in control of Leland's body, and it's taken him over completely. Burnham starts watching the logs that her mother has kept, and she actually goes back to the very first one, which takes place just seconds after the Klingons were fixing to attack in what Burnham originally thought was the death of her parents. But her mother jumps into the exosuit, and she's going to test it out, thinking that she can go back at least an hour in time and save them all. Well, when she does this, it goes horribly wrong, and she's transported 950 years into the future. Now, when she realizes where she's at, she doesn't understand why the time suit has taken her there. There is no signs of life anywhere. She scanned the whole galaxy pretty much, and there is no sentient life forms at this point. Control has eradicated everyone. You see some other flashbacks or some other entry logs where she has tried to go back into the past, and every time it drags her back to this point in the future, 950 years away. So she's basically been trying to get back the whole time, and every time she tries, the suit pulls her back. On the bridge of the Discovery, Tilly finds that something is going wrong with basically she just realizes that the whatever is keeping Burnham's mother here is trying to bring her back. The anchor is what they kept calling it. It's trying to bring her back to that point in the future, 950 years from now or from then. And they're realizing there's nothing they can really do to stop it. They're trying to keep the containment field up, but it's not going to hold forever. As this is going on the Section 31 ship, the AI that is taken over Leland is trying to convince Ash and Giorgio that they need to be the ones in charge of this mission. They need to get all of the intelligence that the sphere had gathered. And we kind of start to realize that this is what Control really needs, is the sphere data, which we've seen before, but this just kind of hammered that home. And he's pretty much trying to get Giorgio and Ash on board with this, saying they need to be deceptive, they need to get this information. And also he's trying his best to convince them that Burnham's mother is not who she says she is. He's saying, I saw her body. I know this isn't her. We don't know what this is, but we need to be in control of it. Going back to Burnham, listening to all of the logs that her mother kept, we do get a little scene where she talks about how, in the second episode where they found the planet Terralisium and the people from Earth there, that was pretty much a kind of a test to see if she could do it. She saved all of them and brought them to that planet to see if she could change the past. Of course, realizing that they're thriving now on this planet, she realizes that she could do that. So now after that, she begins going back into the past, trying to do things to save them, to try to go against Control and be able to change the future. At one point, she even tried to destroy the sphere, but she realized she couldn't do that. So she did something to where she would put the sphere directly in Discovery's path in hopes that they would be able to keep the information safe. Once Burnham's mother regains consciousness, she requests a meeting with Pike, and he beams down to speak with her. I found this scene kind of interesting because as he introduces himself, she tells him she knows who he is, and that she knows everything about him. She knows his future, but he's not going to like it. If she was going to tell him, he's not going to like it, which is interesting considering what we know happens to Pike. But I thought it was just kind of funny because Pike really could care less about that. He's just that type of person. But regardless of that, she is pretty much a walking timeline in the sense of she has seen everything. She knows everybody's outcome. She has all this information. But she tells him that, what he has to do is he has to destroy the information gathered from the sphere. They can't let Control gain access to this. That is the whole point of why she is where she's at. He also says something about the 7 signals that always accompanied the Red Angel, and she has no clue what that is. And I really believe that she didn't. So there's something, these are 2 separate things. We always thought they were connected, but apparently they're not. Burnham is finally well enough to beam down and speak with her mother, and when she arrives down there, her mother's a bit cold to her, but you have to think that her mother has seen all these timelines play out, and she can't really afford to be emotional at this point. And Burnham doesn't really realize this. I think from her perspective, she's just finally getting to see her mother again after she thought she was dead for 20 years. Whereas her mother is this is kind of another day to her. She is focused completely on her mission, and she can't afford to be sentimental about it. She's got to get this done. She's got to have them, delete the sphere data. That's the only way that they can be saved. After this scene, they realize that the only way that they can get rid of the data, since they are unable to delete it because the sphere's data is protecting itself, they realize that maybe they can somehow put the data inside the exosuit and then send the exosuit so far into the future that Control could never keep up with it. By doing this, they will be able to keep Burnham's mother where she's at and kind of separate her from the Red Angel suit. They think they can do this plan. Now, on the Section 31 ship, Leland, or Control, I guess, is aware of that this is going on, so he tries to talk to Giorgio into kind of disrupting this data transfer into the suit. That way they can gain control of it, because he's telling her that they're the only ones who can keep this information safe. And he's acting a little out of character, and Giorgio is smart enough to pick up on this, although she doesn't yet realize that he's been replaced. When Giorgio beams down to speak with Dr. Burnham, she's there to set the trap to get the data, and she does this. But as she's in the process of doing this, Dr. Burnham tells her, she's telling her about this, about control and everything, and she says something that resonates with Giorgio. It's a line that Leland says, and then Giorgio kind of realizes in that moment that Leland is not himself. He has been taken over by this AI, and she disrupts the data. Burnham and the crew beam back down to try and start this plan that they've got of transferring the information of the sphere into the exosuit. And you finally have Dr. Burnham kind of softening to her daughter, and they share a couple of scenes there with each other. Meanwhile, while this is going on, Giorgio contacts Ash on board Section 31 and explains to him what she believes is going on, and they've already stopped the transfer of the data. And as this is happening, Leland finds out, and he ends up stabbing Ash. Like I said, Ash has figured all of this out at this point, that Leland is control. But before he can really do anything about it, they start to fight, and Leland stabs him. Leland beams down to the planet and is trying to take matters into his own hands. He's trying to get the data transfer back up. And of course, by this point, they've all realized that he's not in control, as Ash sent a distress call to the Discovery, and a fight breaks out. Giorgio really just I just love Giorgio. She's amazing. And she starts fighting with Leland, and I really liked all this choreographed fight scene. Burnham realizes that at this point they have no other choice but to let her mother go. So, in any event, to save the future, just save all of this, they've got to do it. And as much as it breaks her heart, she has to. So she and a couple of others start firing their phasers on the containment field that's keeping Dr. Burnham there, because once that's down, whatever's dragging her back and forth into the future will eventually take her. Once the containment field is down, Dr. Burnham is yanked into the future. The Discovery beams aboard all of its crew and Giorgio, and once they do that, they lock photon torpedoes on the base and try to blow it up, thinking that they'll get rid of Leland. But they find out that, seconds before the blast, he was beamed back aboard the Section 31 ship, and they have like 51% of the sphere data at this point. And they find that there was a life pod left. That's what Ash is on, and so they beam him aboard. And then the final scene is pretty much Burnham just kind of coming to terms with what's happened. She's lost her mother yet again. And I really did like this scene, though, because Spock comes to her, and, with his being as unemotional as he is, he does have a nice scene with her where he basically reminds her that, the present is all we actually have. We can't do anything about the past. The only thing we can do now is rewrite our own future. And so that kind of gives her hope. And that's pretty much where your episode ends. Now, next week looks, we're really gearing up for the finale, because I think there's 2 episodes left. I think so. Next episode looks really great. They're going after this Section 31 ship because they've got to take down control somehow. I can only hope that we will see Burnham's mother again. I really liked the actress. I thought she and Michael played well off of each other, and I really hope that she can save her somehow. I think that would be an interesting into the story of this season. So yet again, another fantastic episode. Everything looked amazing as always. I cannot wait for next week, to see how this plays out. So anyways, I highly encourage everyone to watch it if they haven't already. And if you have, let me know what you thought about it. Leave a comment, leave a like, all that kind of stuff. And I'm going to leave this one here. I hope everybody has a fantastic Friday. Enjoy the start of your weekend, and we'll see you back here soon.